Welcome to Bard Tech Talk. I'm Maury Tiernan. Today's topic is isolating the problem through a process of elimination. What components might we isolate? We might be thinking about compressors, relays, motors. But to start troubleshooting, let's look to some other parts of the system. The major parts of the system I'm suggesting are the unit, the control method, and the stat wire. Let's start with the components always assumed to be the problem, the unit. Often the technician goes directly to the HVAC unit. Why? Because that's perceived and reported not working. However, the problem could be the stat wire, fire suppression system, EMS or DDC controllers. You can't be an expert on every thermostat or even to have access to an EMS system. You're simply trying to identify what's not working by a process of elimination, the unit, the stat wire, or the controller. What you may easily eliminate is the HVAC unit. So let's start there. We always strive to isolate the problem by determining what component isn't functioning. Take a photo of the unit data tag with the model and serial number should you want to contact tech service. Often we are taught to turn off the circuit breaker to work on a unit. You're an experienced service tech. I'm going to suggest you do not turn off the circuit breaker just yet. If you do, the unit will clear all memory and reset any info or alarms that might be available. You may need to turn off the circuit breaker at some point, but first collect any available information. Check your high voltage on both sides of the unit circuit breaker to make sure you don't have a dropped electrical leg. Now that's funny right there. We got to use that again. Is your transformer tap set to provide 24 to 26 volts AC output? Next, take your meter and see what low voltage terminals have 24 volts to common. R and RT should. Do any of the others? This will tell you what modes are calling. Does L have 24 volts to common? If so, you have either a high or low pressure switch trip. Both current Bard heat pumps and AC units have an L terminal. Resetting the circuit breaker will reset the board, but that may not solve your problem. Let's go further. To determine if the problem is the unit or other, turn off the breaker. Take a photo of the low voltage terminal block and disconnect all, not just some, all connected stat wires on the low voltage terminal block. Do not remove or disconnect any Bard wires landed on the low voltage terminal block. That may be a different step depending on what we find. Use a kit like this or make a connected set of wires to jumper the terminals on the low voltage terminal block. This simple jumper will have 24 volts at all ends, so clip up the unused ones to avoid shorts and sparks. Turn on the unit circuit breaker. With all stat wires removed, individually energize the terminals and circuits you want to test. Blower only, cooling mode, heating mode, ventilation mode, heat strips, etc. Follow the spark, the 24 volts, from the low voltage terminal block to each next location of that circuit according to the unit wiring drawing. If the 24 volt doesn't move forward according to the wiring drawing, then you have found your problem. This method will lead you to any electrical issues to address in the unit. If you still have the same issue, disconnect any other wires connected to the front of the low voltage terminal block. Those are generally ventilation devices. Retest the mode having trouble. Did this test identify the ventilation device as the problem? If the unit works correctly in all modes, then you have eliminated the unit as the problem. Now go on to the stat wire, or controller. Let's move on. Is this a new install of unit or thermostat? You may want to ensure the stat wires on both ends are landed on the correct terminals, and the stat is programmed correctly for the unit. Turn off the unit circuit breaker. Reconnect the stat wires at the unit. Pull the stat off the subbase. Inspect the wires at the subbase to ensure they are not stripped too far back, shorting out against the metal electrical box or to each other. Turn on the breaker. Jumper the terminals at the stat subbase to test the stat wires. You can disconnect the stat wires at the subbase, or I use paper clips or small brads to do this. Does the unit function correctly jumpering all modes at the thermostat subbase? If not, you may need to simply ohm out the stat wires to test for a shorted or open wire. When installing a unit or pulling new stat wire, always ensure you have a few extra conductors you don't need, just in case a conductor shorts or breaks later. This ensures you will have some spares to use. If you have an identical functioning unit and stat in the classroom or office next door, simply swap stats to see if that fixes the problem. This process should help you identify and isolate basic electrical problems in a system. Did it turn out to be the unit, stat wire, or the controller? Hope this was helpful. See you next time when we talk Bard Tech.